From the lowlands of the Netherlands, a remarkable struggle for independence would unfold, a struggle that would last for 8 decades and forever alter the course of European history. The 80 Years' War, fought from 1568 to 1648, was more than just a rebellion against Spanish oppression. It was a complex battle for self-determination, shaped by religious, political, and economic forces and marked by internal divisions among the Dutch themselves. But what led to such a prolonged war, and what role did factionalism play within the Dutch resistance? In this video, we lines explore the intricate history of the 80 Years' War and the tumultuous journey toward Dutch independence. To understand the 80 Years' War, we must first examine the political landscape of 16th century Europe. The Low Countries, what we now know as the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg, were a rich and diverse collection of provinces under the control of the Habsburgs, rulers of Spain and the Holy Roman Empire. The region was economically prosperous, with thriving cities, a powerful merchant class, and a strong trading network. At the helm of the Spanish Empire was King Philip II, an intensely devout Catholic who inherited the Netherlands from his father Charles V. Philip's reign, however, was marked by a series of costly decisions that sowed the seeds of rebellion. In the 1560s, tensions began to mount as Philip's attempts to centralize power and enforce religious uniformity came into direct conflict with the diverse, semi-autonomous provinces of the Netherlands. By the late 1550s, the Protestant Reformation had spread across Europe, and the Netherlands was no exception. The northern provinces, especially, saw the rise of Calvinism, a form of Protestantism that rejected Catholic rituals and authority. King Philip, a staunch Catholic, reacted harshly to these religious movements. In 1566, widespread iconoclasm broke out, with Protestants attacking Catholic churches and religious images. This triggered a violent response from the Spanish authorities, who began a brutal crackdown on heresy. The Spanish Inquisition was unleashed upon the Netherlands, and thousands of Protestants were executed or forced into exile. Philip's heavy-handed tactics, including high taxes to fund wars in France and against the Ottoman Empire, pushed the Dutch to the brink. But it wasn't just religion that fueled discontent. There were deep-rooted political and economic grievances as well. Many Dutch provinces resented the high taxes imposed by Spain to fund the Habsburgs' global ambitions. They were also frustrated by the growing Spanish influence over local governance, which had traditionally been more autonomous. By the late 1560s, what began as a religious revolt turned into a full-blown rebellion against Spanish rule. The Dutch Revolt officially began in 1568 with a military confrontation between the forces of the rebellious Dutch provinces and the Spanish army. The early years of the war were marked by sporadic fighting and shifting allegiances, as both sides struggled to gain the upper hand. The rebellious provinces, led by noblemen like William of Orange, sought to unify the northern Netherlands into a strong anti-Spanish coalition. William of Orange, known as William the Silent, became the symbol of the Dutch resistance. A former loyalist to the Spanish crown, William turned against Philip II after the king's oppressive policies toward the Netherlands. His leadership, military acumen, and ability to unite disparate factions made him a key figure in the revolt, despite early setbacks, including the defeat at the Battle of Heiligerlee in 1568. The revolt gained momentum. The rebellion was no longer confined to just religious concerns. It had morphed into a full-scale war for independence. But this unity would not be easy to maintain. Although the Dutch were united in their desire to expel the Spanish, internal divisions within the revolt began to emerge. The Dutch provinces were not a homogeneous group. They had different economic interests, religious affiliations, and political objectives. The Protestant factions, particularly the Calvinists, dominated the northern provinces, while the southern provinces remained largely Catholic. These divisions often led to conflict, especially in the form of religious infighting. The Calvinists pushed for the complete removal of Catholic influence, while Catholic leaders in the South sought to preserve the old order, often siding with the Spanish in an effort to suppress Protestantism. Further complicating matters was the role of the Sea Beggars, a loose coalition of Dutch guerrilla fighters who had adopted more radical tactics in their fight against the Spanish. Though they played an important role in reclaiming key territories along the coast, their tactics alienated more moderate factions of the revolt. The war was no longer just about resisting foreign oppression, it had become a struggle over what kind of society the Dutch should build. After decades of brutal fighting, both sides sought a reprieve. In 1609, the 12 years' truce was signed between the Spanish and the Dutch, bringing a temporary halt to hostilities. While this provided a much-needed respite for the Dutch, it did not resolve the deeper issues at play. The truce allowed the Dutch to solidify their independence in the north and to develop their economic power. While Spain concentrated its efforts on other conflicts in Europe during the truce, the Dutch established the Dutch East India Company, which became the first multinational corporation, marking the beginning of the Dutch Golden Age. The war, however, was not over. The final resolution would come in 1648, when the Peace of Westphalia officially recognized the independence of the Dutch Republic. The 80 Years' War may have ended in 1648, but its consequences were profound. The Dutch Republic emerged as a major European power with an economy that dominated global trade. However, the internal divisions that had plagued the Dutch during the war remained. The religious conflicts between Catholics and Protestants, as well as the political factions within the Dutch Republic, would continue to shape the course of Dutch history. The 80 Years' War was not just a struggle for independence, it was a battle over the very soul of a nation. Through internal divisions, religious conflicts, and external challenges, the Dutch were able to carve out a republic that would go on to shape the modern world. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of the Dutch Revolt, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more detailed explorations of history's most transformative conflicts. Until next time, keep exploring the past to understand the present.